Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi semua.
Waalaikumsalam
everyone.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay,
Selamat
hopefully semua dalam di bawah dalam keadaan baik. So it's in a good health and conditions. Right? Okay, so we continue our first. Actually, this is the first lecture of your course BAA2012. Masing-masing boleh dengar suara saya, Clear enough for you?
Boleh
jelas.
Okay, jelas. So we continue our lecture on BAA2012, which is a computer programming, and we are still on the week 1. And this is the first lecture. And in my schedule, the lectures took only 1 hour. Normally, I'm teaching programming technique for faculty of computing. Around a lecture is around 2 hours, and lab around 2 hours as well. It's contribute to 4 hours. And since this subject is only 2 credit, as you can see, the code here is 2012. So the last digit of your code here refer to the numbers of credits, only 2 credits, right? Okay, so I intend to have not to have a lot of time for this course because only 2 credits. Okay, right? And before I start the lecture, so this is the learning outcome of the course. Okay, so what meaning of learning outcomes? Every subject have the learning outcome for each topics. So for these topics, at the end of this class, you should be able to understand so what is the computer programs, okay, and then how you can write a programs, save the files, test the codes, and how you can run the computer programs. So this is the outcome of these topics actually. And the second one here is you should understand the keywords in the computer program. So what is the reserved keywords that you can use to declare variables? So right now, maybe you can see what is the meaning about keywords and also what is variables and so on. Yesterday we talked about certain things regarding the variables name and the concept of how the value can be stored in the variables. Okay, I give you some scenario about a box that we need to that we can put some things in the box. Imagine that the box here is like a variables, and let's say a toys here is a value that you can put in the box. The third one here is you can write a basic computer program in order to solve simple mathematical problems. And I know that you are from the engineering students. A lot of the what you call the problems may come from the mathematical case study. Let's say, for example, you need to find the tangent, you need to find the mean, variance, something like that, that you can use a computer program in order to solve it. Okay? So these are the learning outcomes of the topics, and each of the outcomes here supposedly relate to each of the slide that I prepare. And this is the updated versions. If you download the previous notes from previous lecturer is Dr. Muhammad from your faculty, FTKEE. It looks the interfaces looks different, and also some of the information already discarded to make sure that it's follow the interface that I'm using Thonny software. Right, okay. So I don't want to make this lecture is too formal. You can interrupt me if you have some questions, or you just type your questions in the chat messages. Okay, so what is happening when we launch our executable programs? So just to give you some idea, whenever we have a Python file, yesterday we do some kind of the very simple program. You will see that there's a the Python file will be on the .py extensions names, because that is referred to the Python file. And wherever we run wherever we double click on that particular files, okay, actually we are running that particular script of Pythons. Okay, so this example of the what I call sample codes that I share with you all yesterday on how we can calculate a rectangle by requesting a user to key in some inputs, numerical inputs, yeah, width and also length. And we have certain of the calculations, very simple one, how we can calculate the rectangle by using two values here, width and also length. And then we have a last statement where we have we will display a message by using a print functions of this one. Okay, as you can see here, we have 4 lines. Line number 1 is the inputs of width. Okay, line number 2 is the length. Line number 3 here is some calculations. Okay, we calculate multiply the width and the length that we key in. Okay, from this program, and the result of the multiplications will be stored in the one variable that is called area. And the last one here, we need to display what is the output of the area of the rectangle. Yeah, hopefully you understand regarding these 4 lines here, and details of these 4 lines I will share with you in the next slide, step one by one. Okay, so what is happening in between of this line actually? So from line number 1 until line number 4. So later I'll give you some tutorial how you can use a Thonny software to trace each of the executions lines in the Python script. Okay, so right now I'll give you some lecture regarding what is happening in this line. So starting from line number 1 is reading the width. So line number 1 here, we have a several of statement. We have a width equal to eval input width bracket and so on. So this is a statement of the line number 1. So what is happening in line number 1 here is that, so the program will read the codes, okay, for this statement starting from the input parenthesis with double dot, this one. Whenever we run this line, so the shell will request you to insert some data or some value to this program. So the width that appear in the shell here is the output that's come from the function input parenthesis with double dot, this one. So it will appear in this shell. So right now, so the program will request user to key in some inputs. So more specific on the numerical input, you need to import an example value of 10 from the shells here. So this is what is happening in line number 1. Okay, whenever we put some value here 10 and then we press enter, so the program actually will pass the value that we key in from the shells here, value of 10 will be assigned, or in other words here, will be stored in the variables that we call as the width. In the Thonny, we will have one component that can view the variables value that we key in from the shells here. So this is what's happening. So right now we are having execution of the second line, okay, which is the same concept that we have in line number 1, which is the user need to key in some numerical value. So you know what is numerical value, right? So numerical value is something numbers, okay, anything numbers. Let's say decimal numbers can be used, okay, a floating numbers, let's say 10.1, 10.2, 20.5, something like that is a numbers that we call as the numerical numbers, okay, numerical value. So example here, we insert length value of 8 to the shells here. So whenever we run again the line, click enter. So it will execute for line number 3. So line number 3 here, we don't have any what you call sum function or printf. This one is very direct forward to calculate the area of a rectangle by using two values that we key in just now. So if you look on these variable components, we already have two variables with a specific values for each variable. Length is 8, width is 10 that we key in just now. So in this area, okay, in this line, area is another variable that we declare that we want to hold this value of product of multiplications. So these some are descriptions, variable width and length with value of 10 and 8 added in the computer memory. You can see this value in by using ADLE, something like that, okay? But you can see the value that be stored in the computer memory by using a Thonny software. And like I mentioned yesterday, is very useful for beginner. What is the value that will be stored in the variables? And this is the way that we can visualize again, or we can say that we can display again what are the values that we key in for the respective variables. So this is a certain of descriptions that I put here to make you understand that I already explained in the previous slide just now. So computer will calculate the right side of equal sign, that is width 10 multiplied by length 8, and the result is 80. So what is the meaning of this one? Okay. So the meaning is that the program will read from right to the left side. So meaning that we have a length here is 8, and we can multiply by 10 is equal to 80. So logically this one, the result will be 80. So 80 will be stored into the variables name, which is area. Whenever we run this line number 3 here, we can see that additional variables area, which is line number 4. Okay, so line number 4 means that we already execute line 1, 2, and also 3. So we not execute the line number 4 here yet, okay, because we don't have any sum output. After we run the line, so we can see that the sum output here, the area is 80. So what is inside the line number 4 here is we want to print out the output of area by having some of the text here. Area is, okay, comma, area. So the output that we have here, area is 80. Okay, my question is, where does the 80 come from actually? So 80 is come from the memory of variable area. If you can see here, we have area, and the value of the variable's area here is 80. So that's why that we can retrieve again what are the value that we have here. Let's say we can retrieve the value of length, okay, by just typing the variable names in this code. Let's say, for example, you want to customize the code that we have here. 10 multiplied by 8 is equal to 80. Okay, yes, you can do like that by calling again the variable name width, okay, and also the length in the print functions. So print function here we call as the built-in functions, okay, built-in functions that we have in the Python library that we can use again in order to display some message, okay, like we have here, area is equal. So this is some descriptions that we have here. So the instruction is wait for an enter to be pressed, okay, whenever we enter this one. Execution of the fifth instruction computer when you press enter key. So we don't have any line number 5 here, stop until line number 4. But when we done for all the execution line number 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is no statement or there is no codes lines in the line number 5 here, so the end of the line is ended in line number 4. So since no more execution after line number 5, so program will be ended. So we will have the output like this one. So with double dot 10 is come from the line number 1, length double dot 8 is come from line number 2, and area is 80 is come from the line number 4. Line number 3 is not displayed because this one is doesn't reflects to the output. This one reflects to the statement how for the calculation part. Right? So far, is there any questions? So if you have any questions, just type your message, your question in the message chatting. So otherwise, I just assume that you understand my explanation. So far, can you understand? Before I proceed to the next slide,
Yes, doctor.
no questions, eh? All right, okay. So I continue my lecture. So you can interrupt me if you want to ask questions. So we already done the first part of the example, again, the execution of instruction in bar rectangle by computer. That is the concept of what we call the very basic programming, the input, okay, and some calculations. And the last one, we learned about how we can display the outputs of the program by calling again the value from the variables that we declare in the programs. So we continue for the next part here. Okay, but before that, this is some summary of what my explanation just now. So computer programs is contents of the set of instructions. Okay, or I can call it as a code of instructions telling computer what to do. As you can see from the previous codes, there is 4 instructions that the programs needs to do. Okay, line number 1 here, the programs needs to request the user to key in some inputs. Okay, line number 2 also request the user to key in some numerical inputs. The third line is the computer need to calculate the area of rectangle, and the last line is the program to display again the output of multiplications, okay, the output of area of rectangle. So all the things, the variables, okay, will contain some values. So it will be stored in the some memory, computer memory. And the script of the Python codes we store in the computer system, and we save it as a, for example, calculate rectangle.py that represent the Python script. So if the executed starting doing all the actions, so whenever we run the program again, it will do the same things again. So the computer will request some inputs, width, length, do some calculations, and it's display again. So the output may be different if the output will be different if you insert different number for the width and also the length. And also the values of the each variable will be different because we are entering the different numbers. So in programming, there are two what we call the two parts, okay, two elements that you be able to know regarding this one. The first one here is the concept of how to write a script in order to solve a computational problems. And you need to know what is the syntax in the Python, the programming, especially in this course using a Python languages. For example, we have a print is a syntax in order to display. Then we have input. We have eval in order to make sure that the numbers that we key in is numbers, not a string. Okay. Later, I will give you some understanding. So, what is the meaning of eval functions, uh, and also what is the input functions? that we learned in the previous one. Okay, so hopefully you understand how you can use this kind of function for the future exercise and so on. Okay, so this is the script of the person to solve. Okay, just imagine that we are interacting with the computer, and imagine that if we look on the real scenario, a human or scenario, we are dealing with another person. For example, I'm asking you what is the width, and that particular person will uh, give me a width, and then that particular person will store that kind of the variables into this memory mine and so on. So we call it, this one is like two communications. Okay, so user will interact with the program will interact with the user again, do some calculation, and then we display some equations. So we have here person one say what is the width. Okay, person two, okay, number one, okay, number three here saying again what is the length. Okay, and then the five is some to do some calculations of this one, and then the last one here to display or saying that, so this is the area of the rectangle. So the concept of human script are written like this one, and this one area equal to width, okay, multiplied by length. So this one is on human script. So how we can convert this script into the computational program? Okay, we need to use some of the mathematical, what we call another term is that we need to have some operations. Okay, an assignment that we have here. Example of the operators that we have here: multiply. Okay, the asterisk. If you see in the codes, is we are using the asterisk symbol. It's not on the X text. Okay, but in human script we are doing like this one: area equal to width X, so it represent a multiply length. Okay, we don't have any X symbol to do the multiplication in the program, but we have an asterisk, a symbol for the multiplication. Later you're gonna see different kind of the operators for the computational program by using a Python language. All right. So the next part, you need to understand the items that are in a computer programs that consists of the variables, okay, the text, instructions, and also operators. And then we have some kind of values, 10, 25.5, something like that. And then let's say your name can be a values in the variable as well. Okay, it's not only for the numbers, but for your case study, it may consist a lot of numbers. Okay, numerical numbers, floating numbers, decimal numbers, whatever, and so on. And as compared to the faculty of computing, is look different actually. So we are using a lot of a text, okay, a text input, and then also some values together with the operators. Your case study, you may have a lot of computational programs to calculate some things. So there is some samples at the end of the slide, okay, and the exercise that you need to do in order to you understand regarding the first topic of this course. So analyzing Python computer programs, the first part that you need to understand is what is variable actually. So variable, as I mentioned just previously, or just now, is an identifier that we hold a value of text or a value of numbers or value of a decimal number or floating number, something like that. So this variable we call it like a identifier. Okay, normally if you look at on the different programming languages like C, C++, they are using the same terms, which is the variables. So this code is come from the same code, calculate rectangle. So the red text that I mentioned in this slide here called as a variables that will hold a value, some values. As the width is 10, length here is 8. Okay, so area is the product of multiplications will be 80. Okay, and area here is variable also as well, that we want to retrieve the value is come from the variable area. So you need to think this kind of the informations here regarding the variables, and this one is very important. So how you can declare a suitable variables. Okay, there is certain rules that you need to follow. Okay, so Python is a very case sensitive language, so meaning that it's not only for the Python, the other language as well. So variables and also variables are not the same. What I'm saying, variables and also variables are not the same, is that so the first character, okay, the first text here is big capital letter. Meanwhile, for the second one here is very small letter. So these two is different. If you are using these two kind of the variables in your code, so meaning that you are declaring two variables different. Okay, for example, I put in this code, okay, line number 1 and line number 2 is different. So big capital of V, a small letter of V here is different. So I declaring two different variables in the code. So make sure that your code here is meaningful. Okay, what I'm saying is that, so try to have a variable names that can be understood by the other programmer. For example, C is equal to 100. If you are the one that developed the program, yes, you can understand your own program. But let's say you want to share the codes in your friends, okay? So your friend may asking you, C stands for what? Okay, so then you are saying that C stands for the count. So it's better that if you type down the meaningful names for the variables. Let's say counts equal to 100. So counts, if you pass this code to your friend will be understand. Oh, this variable stands for the count value. Okay, instead of you are declaring C for this one. Okay, similar that if you want to declare like full names, okay, full name, last name, for example, you can imagine that a suitable variable name for that particular case is that FULLNAME. Okay, instead of you put it like FN. Of course, you are the one to declare that particular variables, but it cannot be understood by the other programmer. You can make it like F name, okay, for the full name, something like that. LASTNAME for last name, or you can put something L name. Okay, this one is what we call as frequently used by the programmer to make it for full name and also last name. Okay, so multiple words can be separated using an underscore. For example, like this one. This underscore is underscore a long variables. Okay, you may asking me why we need to use underscore for long names. In certain cases, we need to use this one because this kind of the pattern is very easy to read. Compare that we don't have any underscore for the long variable name. This without any underscore, and so on is very difficult to look at it. Okay, but if you have this underscore, okay, your friend can understand it. Even you as a programmer can understand and can read very clearly this variable name. Okay, so that's just a little bit on that one. In order to declare a suitable variables, okay, there is condition that I can call it as rules that you need to follow. Okay, so in the previous slide, this one we call it a valid variable name. Okay, so there is invalid variable name that you can use. For example, like this one, you can have a number in front of the variable name. Let's say one variable is not valid because we put some numerical value in the variable name in front of it. But a valid variable name like this one, if you put 1, at the end or in between after the text of the variable name, like this one, variable 1. Okay, so this is a vague one. And you can use a symbol like asterisk, okay, hash, dollar signs, percent sign in your identifier. Identifier here is the variables, okay. Some of the lecture I'm saying about identifier and some of the lecture I'm saying about variables is refer to the same things, right? So throughout the slide, I will use a variables to make you don't confuse regarding what is identifier and also variables. So this is example of the Python keywords, okay? Before this, we are declaring a variable's name, okay, by using some certain conditions. And next we learn about the Python keywords. So what is Python keywords actually? Keywords is a reserved words for the Python language. For example, we have a false with big capital letter F, none, true, and as. Okay, there is a lot of keywords that we have here, but basically it is one. Try one with yeah. So meaning that you can use these keywords for declaring a variable name, right? Okay, remember that one. You can use these keywords to declare a variable name. Otherwise, it will detect this statement as a keyword. Your intent is to use this one as a variable name, but the Thonny compiler will look at this keyword as a reserved word. So the next elements that we need to understand is about its text or standard terms that we call as a string. Okay, it's a strings. So what example of the text and a string? Like your name is a string, okay, for the text. Okay, a subject name is a string as well. Your student ID is a text. It's a combination between the numbers and also the character. What I mean character is here is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. There is a character. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and also we call it, if you declare that one as a character, then will become as a character as well. But the thing is that how you present that kind of the text to become as a text, and then it's not a number. Okay. I'm using the same codes here again. So we can use what you call it, the sentences of the text that we want to display by using a single or double quotes. But bear in mind, so I would like to suggest to use a double quotes in order to display a text. Okay, so width will be displayed in the shells as well as the length, and also the area is the text that will be appear in the shells. So these are what the text we have. Okay, so in the program also we have some the operators we have, and this one very straightforward as well. We have minus for deductions, we have additions, we have a divide, we have a bracket for the what we call the priority of the operations. Okay, so comma is another operator. Okay, it's operated to spread different items such as text and also variable, and variable. Example we can see in the line number 4. Number 4 area is comma area. So instead of by using this kind of the style, okay, in line number 4, there is another way that we can display some output by using the F format in the Python. Okay, so if I have time, I will try to give you some a video or tutorial how we can use different kind of the way in order to display a message by using different functions. So this is the arithmetic operators, okay, of programming. Okay, we have plus, minus, multiply, divide. We have percent that stands for the modular. Okay, I think that you understand about modular. There's a floor divisions, and then we have an exponential, left operands raised to the power of right. Okay, so maybe majority of your cases or exercise and so on will utilize this kind of the arithmetic operators. because the outcome of this course is you need to know about the computational problems that will uses different kind of formulas, and formulas will utilize the operators. Okay, so I give you one link here that you can refer is from the programis.com program python/operators, and I can say this website is very useful and very convenient for the student, especially for the beginner, to understand the Python programming. We have instructions, okay, and I can set instruction here. We call it as some statement that execute a specific task. Okay, for example, we have input. Okay, input brackets. Okay, parentheses. This instruction that requests a user to key in some data. Okay, evals here is stand for the evaluate. Okay, we have a print here is the instruction that the computer will print out some value or text value from the inside the parentheses. This one. Okay, so more detail of these instructions, or I can call it as a built-in functions. You can click on this link, program is/methods built-ins. There is a lot of built-in functions that you can use, okay, for certain cases. So I don't want to make it too long for this lecture. So you just click on it and then you try to go through for the link. Okay. Maybe at the end of the class, I will just show you some sample of the built-in functions that we have in the Python. Okay, so just now we look on the settings of the computer programming. Okay, so mainly we have input instruction, we have output instructions. Okay, we have assignment instruction. Assignment means that we have some equal symbols that we have just now. Let's say, for example, the output of the multiplications with multiplied by length is 80. 80 will be stored into the variable name that is called just now is area. So equal here means that the assignment, you assign some value to the a certain variable name. K, we have a decision instruction and so repetition instruction, and then it's not will be covered in this topic, but will be covered in the next following topics. So I will show you example of the codes that I have in the slide here. This one is example number 1. In order to find a difference between two numbers. So we have line number 1 until line number 7 here. Line number 1 and the line number 2 here is the codes that we want to have comments in the program. But this comment will not be executed in the codes, but it will remain as the comments for your friends. And the purpose of this comment here to give you some what you call a text that can be read by the other person, okay, as a notes, okay, as a notes, but it's not being part of the instructions. But instruction is starting from the line number 4, 5, 6, and so line number 7. Okay, so my intention is that you try to write again this code, okay, and then you run the program, okay, and then you input certain of the values. You can see the output for this one. We have example number 2 here in finding force over mass. By using this formula, okay, gravity is equal to 9.81. And so we have force mass multiplied by the gravity. So this is the inputs. So line number 4 is the inputs. Line number 5 here, we call it the assignment. Okay, assignment. What we call assignment just now is that we want to store value of 9.81 to the variable of gravity. Okay, so number 6 here we have assignment, and also we have operators, multiplication, mass multiplied by gravity, and we have some output for if you input certain value into this program. We have another example here in finding volume of a cylinders. Okay, we need to input the radius and so the height. So the pi value is a constant value. So we cannot change the pi value. So 3.14 for the pi value will be assigned into pi variable name. Okay, R here is a variable name, H is a variable name. Eval here is instructions. Input here is input instructions. So A equal to pi multiplied by radius and multiplied by radius again. And then the line number 9 here is to display the output of a cylinder volume. So the end of this slide here is regarding the exercises that you need to do, all right? Okay. So we have multiple of the exercise we have here. So we have number 1 until number 10, okay? So my intention is that you need to develop a Python program, a computer program by using a Python. For number 7 until number 10 for this one. This is the exercise as a low level, very easy to do, is low level. And then we have a part number 2 is a middle. We need to develop a program that find the slope according to this formula, and certain of the formula for number 2 here. And then we have the high level of the questions in order to write a computer program to generate a line equation based on 2 coordinates entered or given by the user. So this is a formula. So you need to use this formula, and this is the example of the executions. So enter x1 until enter y2 are the user inputs. The equations is y equal this. So these are the outputs. So y equal 0.8125 here is not a fixed value, but this one is come from the m value, which is the formula to find the m here is this one, y minus y2 minus y1 divided by x2 divided x1. And also we have 6.8775 is not a fixed value, but it's come from the formula of C. C is come from 1, y1 minus mx1. Okay, so the dot here that represent the multiplication. So m's come from here. Okay, so m's multiplied by x1. xy is come from the input that you key in the shells. So that is the end of my lecture. Any questions so far? So I open a question to you all. Okay, since right now is already 8:47, I intend to finish the class around 10:50. Any question? I open the question to the floor.
Doctor.
Ya, siapa yang bercakap ni ya?
Raj, Doctor Raj.
Okay, Raj.
So doctor, are we supposed to do all the exercises and submit to you, or is this for our own self improvement?
Okay, right. Good questions. So you need to submit about calculations and question number 7. Can you see the slide? Question number 7 until number 10, this one. Line number 1 until 6 here is for your own self-learning. Okay, on part 1. Okay, part 2 here is, I think this one you can finish around 30 minutes. Okay, it's 30 minutes. You can spend the time during the lab sessions. Okay, this one part 2, question 1, 2, and so 3. Okay, and also part 3. Okay, part 3 is only one question. For me, I can finish one within 5 minutes. Okay, maybe less than 5 minutes with this one. I already finished this one last night, and very easy. For me, it's very easy, but I can't see your level. Okay, that's why you need to write the codes by your own to make sure that you know your level. And then if you have some questions, you have some difficulty for each particular questions, okay, you can ask me. So meaning that you have some difficulty, even that you have some we have a very simple question. questions. Okay, so I will open the submission for this one, and then you need to submit, and hopefully you can submit, and then you understand. Okay. Is
Okay,
there any
okay,
questions?
understood.
Any questions? Did I answer your question, Raj?
No, doctor, all clear.
Okay, right. Okay, so before we end our class today, I just give you some example, okay, regarding what is differences between a valid variable and also invalid variables. Okay, so just I'm using a Thonny here, very simple codes. Okay, from the equal 1 equal to 10, for example. Okay, so 10 here is a value. Okay, var1 here is a variable name that we declare a valid variable name. So whenever we run the program, okay, you can't see from the shell here because we don't have any output instructions. What we have here is the assignment that we have a value 10 just now. It will be assigned to variable 1. So this is what we call we assign the value from the code. Okay, assign the value from the codes. Okay, from the codes. Okay, so I can say that we fix the value. It's a fix. Okay, so what about invalid? If you put 1 at the front here and then var equal to 10, okay, I declare another value. You run the program, run script. Okay, so you can see that this one is invalid syntax. Okay, invalid syntax. So it's looked here, there's something wrong in this one. So it's 1. Okay, 1 here is number. You cannot put 1 in front of the text, but you can put at the back of it. Let's say I put here 2. Run again. So you will see that this one is valid. Okay, similar for invalid that we have like symbol. Okay, symbol var something like this one equal to 3 example. We run the program again. So you will see that invalid syntax again because we are using a symbol here. Symbols here can be like a hash symbol also. Okay, slash this one. Okay, what else? Dollar sign. Okay, percent. So this symbol you can use this one in between or in front of it. You can use this one. Okay. Okay, so before I end, I just do some revisions, recap again. So what we already done for the first topic in week 1, that you understand what is computer programs. So computer program is a set of instructions to do the specific task, right? For example, we have line number 1. It will do certain parts, input, output, for example, something like that. And you know how to write a simple program, save the program, yeah, okay. And then you run the program, and then you get the output. So second one here, just now you learn about the keywords, okay. We call this one as a reserved keywords for the language. You can use this reserved keyword in order to declare a variable name. Okay, the last one here you can write a basic computer program in order to solve a mathematical problems. So mathematical problems will utilize an operators and some certain of the functions, the math function, something like that. Okay, example is square root. Okay, so there's a mathematical functions. Okay, right?